Are you feeling like you're not quite the hero in your own story and you feel like you want your knight in shining armor to rescue you? Well, I'm Dara Thomason and I am the Quilter's Coach, and this is episode 157, The Power of Coaching and the Stories We Tell. I'm loving this new title of the podcast because I truly feel like it's expressing really what I do. Because if you are to listen to all of the coaching calls that I've had over all of the years, we rarely talk about food. In fact, it is amazing just what has happened in the lives of the members as they fully embrace that they are creating the life that they want. Oh, their marriage improves, their weight loss improves, their productivity improves, they save a lot of money because they're finally looking at their life. Joe Dispenza says, your personality is your personal reality. So when you have a greater awareness of what you're doing every day, that personal reality, it shapes your personality. As we do this work and as we look at all of these tools, you can truly create whatever kind of life you want. So today we're going to dive into stories. But before we go into the meat of the podcast, I wanted to share a win on what happens as the ripple effect in the lives of the members because they are doing the work. Today, I wanted to share about how, this client, her husband had a former coworker who is about 23 years younger. So my client and her husband are in their early 70s. And they had this couple over who are in their early 50s. But he said to my client, I don't see a lot of women your age that are really as happy and comfortable in their own skin as you are. And so it was interesting. Not only did he notice that about her, because this client in particular, she is truly just embracing who she is. She wears the funky clothes. She just lives her life, not worrying about what other people think. So that's really neat that he could see that about her. But one of the things that I loved was that she was able to accept that compliment. And how many of us have a hard time accepting compliments? It's really challenging. Not only is she living the life that she wants to live, but she's showing other people that it's possible to live a life that feels really authentic to you. So I wanted to share that. All right. So I wanted to talk about stories and how do we change our stories. We have some cool ideas here, and just scratch that. So I'm talking about stories and how they are really internalized inside of us and how we're wired to be attracted to different stories. And then how do you create that reality for yourself? So my objective for the end of this podcast is you're going to have a really good framework on how do you create a story of your life that you want to live by and to really help yourself create that. It's a bit of a tall order, but I got you. And I'm so glad you're here. So the way I wanted to start out was I want to ask you, what are some of your favorite stories? So do you have a novel that you have read over and over? So if you listened to me for a while, you know that I really love Harry Potter. And I've read Harry Potter, like the whole 7 series, multiple times. I love Harry Potter. I also really like Star Wars, and I like, a lot of these classic stories. And why? Why do you think we're attracted to those? And what makes a really good story? Well, there's a story that I really love, and I've read the novel probably 3 times, and I've listened to it at least 2 or 3 times with my kids. And it's called The Witch of Blackbird Pond. And it's about this 16-year-old girl who was raised by her father. Her mother died at a young age, and she only really had a picture of her mother. This is in like the 1650s. Her father went to Barbados and then he died. And then a 50-year-old tried to marry her, and her grandfather died, and she wasn't of an age and status in life that she could be on her own and take over her father's money. And so she went to her with 2 cousins and her uncle. And he was a very strict and stern Puritan. So Kit, with all of her beautiful silk dresses and just the abundance of beautiful finery, goes across from Barbados to up the East Coast, and then makes her way through the rivers and the channels and gets to her uncle's and aunt's very Puritan lifestyle. They wear very simple clothes, no fancy finery whatsoever. And it's a stark contrast. She has to work, and she's got these two cousins. One is physically disabled, and the other one is needs to work a lot, of course. And there's no boys in the home, and it's just this amazing story. And then, of course, some romance comes, and with the cousin, and then there's a boy named Nathaniel, and then, of course, there's this witch in Blackbird Pond, and she is shunned by the society, but she has insight and wisdom that people don't really understand her. Kit starts to befriend her, and there's all these different relationships. So when you think about this story, and it's interesting, I want you to think about, what is a story that you love to read? What is a story you love to think about? And why do you think that happens? Where is that coming from? What compels you to keep reading? And why, on a drive in the car, or when you don't have a lot to think about, why will you go back to those characters, and why will you think about them? What draws you to that? So one of the reasons is that each one of us, we all want to secretly become who we really are. So when we're watching a character like Harry Potter or Luke Skywalker or Kit, who that they have greatness and they have all these obstacles, you are cheering them on. You're saying, you got this. You can do this. I believe in you. You can overcome these obstacles. You have all of these odds stacked against you, but I know you can do this. So why do we do that? And why are we drawn to that? It's because we want it for ourselves as well. But it's really hard for us to believe in ourselves, even though it's so easy to see it in others and to wish it for others. But why is it so hard for ourselves? So on the worksheet, I have this question. We all want to live our dreams, but what stops us from doing the work to pursue those dreams? What stops us from doing that? I have some dream killers here. So people will make fun of me. People will judge me and say mean things. People will tell me that I can't do it. I don't like making mistakes. I will feel bad. I will speak harshly to myself. I will berate myself. I will be hard on myself. Okay? How often does that happen? And then I hate to waste time and resources on failing. I like to be productive and resourceful. Now, there's this book. It's called Building a Story Brand. I have these life coaching tools that I love to share with people, but I need to learn how to market. I've heard him being shared this idea over and over. And so in this book, and I have actually a formula, I'm going to share it with you, and it shows why these stories are so compelling. So I want you to think about yourself. When you think about your life, and just even, in the gap in the gain, it always says measure backwards, right? Always measure backwards. Oh, when you measure backwards, I want you to think about what are the things in your life that you have overcome that now are just super simple. I'm talking it doesn't even have to be hard. Do you remember when you couldn't even turn the light on by yourself? You weren't tall enough? And do you remember that sheer pleasure of I did it? I shared this story once before about my little boy who's now 6'4.5". When he was, I think he was 3, he made me a sandwich, a mustard sandwich. And he says, Mom, we're going to have a nick-a-nick. And he got a blanket and he put it in the front lawn. And he put so much mustard on that sandwich. It was drenched with mustard. And we sat there and we ate that mustard sandwich on our nick-a-nick. That was so exciting for him that he could do something like that by himself. He didn't need me anymore. So I want you to look back in your own life of what were those, what was that feeling? Or what was that feeling of knowing I can do this myself? I can create this. I don't know about you, but what was it like when you made your first quilt? And how exciting was that first quilt? And what did that do for you? I want you to think about, so I'm going to share my screen. So those people who are listening to the podcast, no big deal, but you can look it up on the Story Brand. Here it is. When they talk about this, so I want you to think about yourself. Like, what is something that you really want to accomplish? Oh, is it weight loss? Is it a happier marriage? Or do you want to be a pattern writer? You want to quit your job, or you want to replace your income, whatever that is. So in the story brand framework, so we have the character. Now the character is you, and then we have a problem. So the problem is, let's just use weight loss, that you don't know how to feel your own feelings. Oh, you keep turning to all these diets, but at the end of the day, you're always still grabbing the Ben and Jerry's or the donuts or whatever that is. And it just feels terrible because you don't want to have the side effects of what that does for your body. Yeah, you don't want to have type 2 diabetes. You don't want to be insulin resistant. You want to be able to do the thing. So the character has a problem who meets a guide. So Luke Skywalker meets Yoda. Harry Potter meets Dumbledore. Oh, Frodo, they meet Gandalf. Thank you. Then gives them a plan. And then that plan requires them to have an action. We have to be brave. We have to be courageous. We have to learn magic, or we have to learn how to tap at the force. We have to learn to, like for the Witch of Blackbird Pond, we have to learn the new social norms. We have to learn these new cultural expectations. We have to learn to work and use our hands. We don't have servants anymore. And then that results in success. So it helps them to avoid failure. This is the framework. This is what helps us to become who we are. Now, going back to these questions, when you think about the dream killers, you think about people will make fun of me. How do you feel when people make fun of you? Discouraged? Frustrated? You know, what is that feeling? People will judge me and say mean things. How would you feel? You feel excluded? You feel exiled? You feel rejected? People will tell me that I can't do it. You feel despondent? You feel discouraged? You feel purposeless? You feel aimless? Like, what are those feelings? I don't like making mistakes. You feel like failure. I hate to waste time and resources on failing. So what is that? And then I like to be productive and resourceful. You know, you want these things. You don't want the opposite. So when you think about what's on the other side of success, there's a lot of negative emotions. One of the problems with negative emotions is that we don't know how to work through it. We don't. Because when we were kids, we were told, oh, you're sad, here's a sucker. You're sad, here, let's make cookies. You're sad, here, have some ice cream. You're sad, go to your room, get out of my face, right? Like, I don't know how to deal with you, so you gotta go. So the problem is we didn't learn how to, first of all, acknowledge the emotion. And then secondly, we didn't know how to process that emotion. We didn't learn how to allow it. And yes, last week I talked about the solution to solving any problem. And it's called the model. And the model has a circumstance. So let's say the number on the scale, and then we have a thought about it. Or I'm not going to live the life I want to live. And then we have a feeling, so devastated. And then from that feeling, because a feeling is always the fuel for our actions, that will now precipitate all the action. Think of all the times we failed, you know, all of those result actions that we take. Like, we don't feel our feelings, we don't slow down, we eat more food than our body needs because we want to avoid it. So then, of course, if you're spending all your time in those actions, the result is you never learn how to lose the weight forever, right? You just keep in that same cycle. The reason why we love stories is because we love to see the character overcoming their obstacles. We triumph in it. We are so excited to see that someone can overcome those obstacles. You know, you think of the story, The Little Woman, and about who writes, and, you know, she just, her fingers are black and she goes back and forth to the publisher. You know, she's working so hard and sacrificing so much to really live her dream. And then she has that whole love issue with that boy, and then her sister gets so sick, and then she goes back to spend time with her sister, and we're the whole time we're just on the edge of our seat saying, no, keep fulfilling your dream, don't get distracted, stay focused, you have a purpose. And we're so excited to see these people moving through all these obstacles. Just like our personal reality becomes our personality, if we don't know how to work through our own struggles, then we just keep sitting on the sidelines and we keep cheering everyone else on, but we never cheer ourselves on. And so my experience as being a life coach is just so amazing but I am watching these women overcome these obstacles. I want to share something that has happened in my personal life, because the life coaching tools, one of the misconceptions is that we think that we're broken and that we need to be fixed, and that we should just get ourselves fixed. And then once we're fixed, we're never going to have any more problems. We're going to be able to relax and to enjoy our life. So learning to be an entrepreneur has been a big learning curve for me. I didn't realize all the things that go with finding the people to coach them and to build this community. So it's a whole new learning curve for me. Recently, I had a masterclass. I've had a masterclass and I sign up so many people. They sign up to the membership and it's wonderful. And I just feel so good about myself. And I think, oh, I know what I'm doing. But there was nobody on the sales call with the fourth day that wasn't already a member of my membership. It was a little bit tough to swallow, right? Everyone had already paid me money. How is this possible? How have I been in business for 3.5 years and I have made over $1 million as a life coach and I'm doing this class and there's nobody? I just felt so terrible. I felt so pathetic. I just let myself have all the thoughts. I just let myself feel all the feelings. Right? Talk about the dream killer. A few hours later, and by the way, there was a woman that signed up to work with me one-on-one. She just didn't happen to be on the call. So that was amazing. But so a few hours later, I have our regular group call and she joined, and it's just been really awesome to watch her. And her sister is in really rough shape. She had a really terrible disease. It's very unusual. She doesn't have the same reality. It's kind of like opposite of Alzheimer's. It's like her brain still sees things, but it doesn't see it properly. So back in March, and I'm recording this in June, I coached her, and it was really hard for her to get coached. It was very vulnerable, but I encouraged her and I helped her. And I was able to give her really powerful coaching. She said later that night, she had a shower and she was able to do a verbal thought download. And then in the middle of the night, she woke up and she realized, and she started laughing because she realized that she's judging her sister from her broken brain. And she realized how silly that was, that she was being offended by this broken brain. And she said to me, I've been meaning to tell you that since March, and I just haven't. And my life has changed so much since that time. And I just really wanted to thank you. And she's lost 30 pounds, which is great. But she said, my life is so much lighter and happier. It was so wonderful for me because I was feeling so frustrated because I was judging myself that I was such a bad business owner and that I was so bad at marketing and what was wrong with me. So what I did in that moment was I brought up that story brand. And I often say to my clients, what would it be like when you're struggling like I was? And I thinking, man, this is making my story so compelling. Like if this was a movie, people would be on their edge of the seat because they would see me discouraged and frustrated that in the past I had, these 10 people sign up on a sales call. And then 2 years later, a year later, here I am with no one. Meanwhile, I did eventually get someone to sign up, and there's probably others that will. But you have to remind yourself that it's not it's not like the stock market, right? It's not like we just are always getting better and better and better consistently at like a 45-degree angle. It's up then down and up and down and up and down. And it's the same thing with weight loss. It's the same thing with our relationships. We can have these amazing, incredible conversations and connections with our spouses. And then 2 weeks later, you're like, how do you don't even know me? Or with our kids or whatever it is. And that because this is what this is what living a life looks like. So having a life coach and having life skills and tools to help you is so powerful. So I wanted to share that experience because I think that a lot of us forget. And so when we watch those movies, like those epic how many hours is it? 9 hours to watch The Hobbit or Harry Potter? I mean, those are hours and hours, and you're just rooting for them. You're like, don't give up. And I want you to be able to do that for yourself. And that is in part what happens in life coaching. The last thing I'm going to say as I conclude this episode is we are physically connected. Obviously, our brain is connected to our body. One of the things that I see in myself and in others is if we are not speaking our truth, if we are not allowing ourselves to create our dream, and if we are spending a lot of time killing our dreams and making excuses and not feeling our feelings, our bodies will suffer. So sometimes it's our thyroid. If we are not telling our truth, or if we're sugarcoating our truth, then our thyroid is saying, nope, that's not good. That's not healthy, girl. Arthritis, it's stopping us. It's saying, slow down. You're not being healthy. I recently just got sick. I don't get sick very often. Part of it was I was pushing my body too hard. I was pushing myself too hard. So I needed to slow down and to rest and to be more calm. It's our body's way of communicating with us, and we have to work in unison. And that is why life coaching, especially for permanent weight loss, is so important, because we need to connect with our body. We need to have that communication. So if you are resonating with the words that I'm saying, and if you can relate to this, I'm here for you. So I have a lifetime membership where once you pay, you can pay $100 a month for 24 months. You can pay all at once. It's $2,000. You're in. And we have all of these calls. It is unbelievable what you get for what you pay. Like, it is life changing. It saves your life. And not only does it save your life, but generations. But if you have questions or concerns, you might be asking yourself, all you need to do is just come on. You can book a call. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to offer these free coaching calls. They're 20 minutes. We can get on a call. But for now, I have time. I don't know when you're listening to the replay of this, but if July 25th of 2024, I have time right now. So you can ask me any questions and I can give you some free help. And then if that feels like a good fit, I would love you to join my community. At the time I'm recording, I have space for one more one-on-one client. If that's something you want to do a deep dive with me, I also have coaches in my own program that I can offer you coaching through them at a different price. I just want to serve. I want to see you. I want to see you get to that place where, you really are being your amazing self. It's like we're all cheering you on in the theater. We're all saying, you can do it. It was like me being on the sales call with nobody new. And I actually kind of started laughing. I thought, well, this is a good sign that the people that have already paid me money come to everything I offer really getting something. Anyways, it's such a pleasure to be with you on these podcasts. I can't wait to meet with you and hear back from you. And I'd love you to leave me a review. I would love you to share my podcast with your friends. I'm the Quilter's Coach, so share me with all your quilting friends. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye. If you want more help with learning about your body and how it's changing through menopause, perimenopause, through whatever it is, my program is focused on helping you truly become your own best expert. So as we go through June, working on our menopause, perimenopause experiences, July, we're focusing on becoming our own bestie, July and August actually, with our summertime challenge. And then in August, we're really diving into how to lose the physical weight when you focus so much on the mental. I have an incredible program for that coming in August. So there's so much to look forward to. You truly can make your own transformation. And I love helping you find that inner knowledge and wisdom that's just waiting for you to unlock so that you can create permanent change for yourself.